All right, what's up, everybody? It's kind of a lazy Saturday, but as you can see, it's a very pretty Saturday. The weather's great, so what better time to go out for a quick ride? Never really know what to do or where to go. There is one thing I wanted to do, or at least accomplish, on this ride today. Is ended up picking up the brand new iPhone that just came out. I think yesterday. I just got it yesterday. And it's the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and a lot of people are talking about some of the new video capabilities on it, and the ProRes video recording, and you can select ProRes video, ProRes log, which is cool, very flat profile, ProRes standard, and ProRes HDR. So I figured it'd be nice to compare those three different, see if you can see any difference. I honestly don't really plan on doing much filming from my phone in ProRes. Honestly, if I'm just filming from my phone, it's for real quick, just throw-in shots, so just real basic footage. So I don't really care for it to be like super fancy or that ProRes format. I don't really care if I want the highest quality video. I'll just bust out like my Sony camera or something like that. But I'm still curious. It'll give me a little something to do today. And we're gonna take a shortcut. That's steep. And a little slippery. Whew, got it. Slipped a little bit there, but I saved it. Ooh. There's a nice day down at the beach. Got some volleyball. This is nice. Yeah. So yeah, I've had the new iPhone for like a day or two now. I haven't really done any extensive testing or anything. Before this one, I just had the 13 Pro Max. But to be honest, they're pretty darn similar. Not a whole lot of difference between them in terms of what they're capable of. But, Apple's got really good marketing, and, they're pretty good at making it sound like it's just revolutionary, the best thing ever. It's the best iPhone they've ever made, of course. But hey, any little improvements are welcome. I did find it was pretty interesting. They mentioned very briefly in the keynote that this new 15 Pro Max would be capable of filming in spatial video for the upcoming Apple Vision Pro. That was pretty interesting because up until then, the only way that we kind of knew, or the only way they showed us to film content in their little spatial video 3D format is to just film it from the Apple Vision headset, which was pretty ridiculous looking. Everybody thought it was pretty ridiculous. So that's cool that this phone can't do it right now, but I guess there'll be a software update later where you can film in spatial video. So that'll be interesting. Maybe sometime early next year you'll see me with my phone strapped up to my helmet filming this like kind of 3D content. We'll see. That could be interesting. These don't look very structurally sound anymore. This will work. Okay, so in the settings, so in camera formats, ProRes, log, standard dynamic range, and HDR. So we'll start in log. So right now the video mode is in just in standard video. Might as well get a quick clip. Okay. So this is just like the regular built-in 4K 30. We'll just give it a good 10, 15, 20 seconds. Okay, so that was regular 4K 30. Let's switch over now to ProRes log, and let's give it some time. So what's interesting here in ProRes log is like when you're filming log stuff, especially on like your Sony cameras, just any other camera that has log, you're usually filming manually because log formats are kind of tricky to properly expose. And so this is like filming log with like complete manual settings. So interesting. We'll see how the color grade goes. I'll play around with that, but it definitely looks like a very flat image, which is cool. Not like the iPhone has a hard time leveling out exposure with all of its crazy like processing and HDR and all that, but this just gives more flexibility on color and editing and all that. So cool. There's ProRes log. Let's do ProRes standard dynamic range. Okay, ProRes SDR. So basically the point here is that we're not going to be doing any color grading on this. We're just taking the natural phone colors, but we're filming just in a different format, the ProRes format. So I'm kind of curious to see how this video format will compare to the standard built-in in terms of like the tone mapping and the sharpening and all that. Because this is definitely a much larger file size. So you would think that this should be a lot cleaner, a lot higher bit rate and all that since it's such a bigger file size. So I think that's pretty good on ProRes standard dynamic range. Now let's switch over to ProRes HDR. So HDR is weird. I don't really do like an HDR workflow. Okay, let's record. So yeah, I don't usually do a HDR workflow at all. I know you have to have certain monitors and stuff that can even display it. The few times I've done HDR, like filming HDR videos on the phone, I believe like on my TV, it'll just play back in regular dynamic range because I don't have an HDR TV. And even on my computer, it just plays back, usually I think standard dynamic range, or it looks a little funky. I don't remember. I'm honestly not a good enough expert on HDR workflows, but I do know when an HDR video plays on the iPhone screen, you can definitely tell right away. You're like, whoa, that really pops. It's like really bright. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure if I'm actually a huge fan of the HDR, even though like technically speaking, yeah, you're just getting a much broader spectrum of luminance and all that. So it's technically better, but is it better? That's like saying, 60 frames per second is better than like 24 or something because it's more frames. But like, yeah, it's a stylistic thing. Like, even though 24 is less frames, I just like the look of it. So we might prefer just the look of standard dynamic range because that's what we're used to. All right, let's cut that. Maybe HDR is just, even though technically speaking it's better, maybe that's just not what people like. It's not what they're used to. So, okay, there's our sample clips. And so if you want to see, so this is the 15, hopefully that's in frame on the camera, 15 Pro Max in the titanium, the blue titanium. It's pretty cool. The rounded corners feel great. USB-C, crazy. I know I can plug in my SSD and stuff in there, which is cool. I might do that sometime, maybe not. We'll see how the video turns out from the internal recording. But yeah, I mean, it's a nice little improvement. It's not revolutionary. It's not like it really does anything totally different from my 13 Pro Max, but any little quality of life improvements are welcome. Okay, I'm gonna head back and I'll take a look at the footage and let you know my final thoughts in a minute. But while we're cruising, while we're on our way, this is actually kind of funny. So back in, I think June, whenever the Apple Vision Pro was announced, I came down, I filmed a video right here talking about the Vision Pro, and I don't know, I was just like ranting or whatever. I never finished the video. I don't know why. There's a lot of footage and I got a lot of it edited, and then I just kind of like abandoned the video. So I feel bad. That's actually, there's multiple videos like that. I have probably like 3 or 4 different videos sitting on my computer that are like half edited and then just sitting there. So if you ever wonder why I don't upload more, it's not that I'm not shooting more, it's just editing's, I don't know. It's very tedious for me. If you want to be my video editor for this channel, shoot me a message. I'll shoot a ton more videos and then you can just edit them together for me, and then I'd have way more videos up. Anywho, in that video in June, I guess I could just sum up my thoughts really quickly. I did think the whole Apple Vision Pro thing was very interesting. It is this whole kind of new style of computing. It seems like they're aiming for it to be more than just like a VR headset, because we've seen those before. They're not really that popular. I don't think Apple Vision Pro will necessarily be that popular, especially at first. That's why this first one's so expensive. It's just for the enthusiasts and the early adopters and the developers and whatnot. But I think eventually, once people get a little more used to this style of computing and the technology can come down in price and be more accessible, and people just get more used to this kind of new style, I think it does have potential to be more popular. And then I was kind of focusing a bit on the media consumption aspect of it, like watching videos and content. A lot of people consume a lot of content. They watch a lot of videos on YouTube and all that. And there's nothing, everybody loves just standard 2D video. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And that will still live on, I'm sure. But this platform seems like it might have some potential to just be something new, something, from the early reviews from people using this headset, it really does sound like it is a truly unique and actually good immersive experience. Because obviously your whole visions can be taken over by this video. That's 3D, and it's very, very intriguing. So I don't know if I can afford. I mean, if I can try and get one when they first come out, I'll definitely try. We'll see. But, pretty cool that this new phone will be able to shoot that kind of content. So let me know if that sounds interesting, if I should try to start making content like that when it comes out, when the software update comes out for the phone. I don't know. My thoughts on the Vision Pro is like, is this going to become like a thing? Are people going to like really adopt, and are we going to be looking through YouTube for videos and specifically just watching this like immersive, the spatial video content? Because I do think it has potential. I don't know. We will see. That was pretty much my general thoughts on the whole Apple Vision Pro thing. That's a cool car. Freaking ADD brain over here. Ooh, squirrel.
Okay, I got a chance to check out the footage and review it. I have a few thoughts, a few ideas. Let's go for the last one and then I'll work my way back. So the last one was the HDR. I'm just gonna go ahead and just erase the whole HDR thing, because I mentioned I never really use it, and yeah, you have to have a whole workflow for HDR. So trying to use any kind of HDR footage with like a non-HDR workflow, it just doesn't work, it doesn't match. I'm not experienced with it. I actually had to like look up online how to try and use some iPhone HDR footage in Premiere. You have to like convert it, and then I used some dude's like LUT to try to make it look a little bit more standard. A whole bunch of work for like really no gain. So no point in me really ever shooting that, ever. Okay, the one before, ProRes Standard. This one, I was hoping for it to be similar to just shooting regular video on the iPhone, just the standard, every time you open up your phone and just record video. I was hoping it's going to be kind of like that, just shoot and you go, except with a more clear image, less processed, like less sharpening, and just a higher bit rate and better quality video. But to be honest, like, I'll look at them side by side, but I feel like it looked almost exactly like the just standard built-in iPhone footage, just way bigger file sizes. So again, I don't really see the point of doing that. I would rather just save the space and just shoot regular video on the iPhone and just skip the ProRes thing. So now the first one, which is what I'm filming in right now, is the new log format. This one I actually kind of liked. It's the only format that kind of, I feel like, sort of removed that like over sharpening that you kind of see on iPhone footage, and allows you to apply whatever kind of coloring and kind of look that you want, how you want to grade it. I actually ended up using like a LUT sort of thing, but that's supposed to mimic like RE's footage, like fancy cinema cameras. And that's a LUT that I use with my Sony a7S III. And I just kind of dragged it and dropped it right onto the iPhone log footage, and it kind of just worked. So I don't know what that says exactly, but I was basically just treating the Apple log footage like S-Log3 footage from a Sony, and it worked. So I don't know, I like it. So if I was going to film anything other than just regular video on the iPhone, I would use this ProRes log, because it's kind of cool. But to be honest, if I'm going to be shooting like log footage, I'm just going to use my Sony. But it's interesting to know, out of the 3 different versions of ProRes video on the iPhone, I found the log to be the only real useful one. So let's go ahead and just I'll put up the 3 different profiles here on the screen so you can kind of compare them side by side. I'll be honest, I'm really not very impressed with the 4K like clarity. I mean, sure, if you're viewing this footage on a small screen, it looks really sharp, but once you put it on a bigger screen, like on my monitor here or on a TV, it's really not like that sharp. And there's a lot of this just kind of gross looking over sharpening once you see it on a large screen that I'm really not a fan of. I'm actually surprised the GoPro footage that I have on 4K, but I have the sharpness turned all the way down, kind of looks a little cleaner and more pleasant to the eye, just at least in my perspective. If you kind of zoom into this iPhone footage, yeah, it just has that classic, just processed, kind of sharpened image. I'm not a huge fan of that. So, I mean, it works great in a pinch. It's great for what it is, but that's just kind of my thoughts on it, just what I've observed. So I think the log is cool, and that's I think that's all I have to say on that.